Okay, this is the Immortals 2v2 tournament. Round 3, Game 2, between CW and MBH. So, this is going to be interesting sort of replay, as I don't really go over much of the battle because it takes so long and the issues that have come up. But pretty much there is a dilemma, or a misunderstanding of the rules, which I'm going to go over. So pretty much you're going to see pretty intense skirmish battle that I'm just going to zoom out and let happen up here. So what happens here is the MBH crew, which they're going to pretty much lose this game, or lose the majority of the battle, decides to cop out and try to take advantage of a rule that doesn't actually work the way they think it does. So what's really going to happen here is the CW is going to out-skirmish them, and you're going to see the power bar be in their favor, at least to like here or so. It's pretty significant. And MBH crew is going to pretty much run away. They're going to run away to the corner of the map, the red line, and claim that it was a stalemate because there was a lack of action taking place. So now, if you do know how to read, I encourage you to read the rules to the tournament, or any tournament that you're ever in, because it helps to know exactly how things work. Because if you do not, you can pretty much screw yourself out of having any chance of winning, which is sort of what the MBH crew sort of does here. And if you don't know how to read, I suggest you have someone read the rules to you or explain them in depth to you. So with that said, with this fast forward going on, I'll try to explain some things that happen here. There's pretty much a really good skirmish game being played by CW, and they're taking advantage of MBH Admin Dada, which is also Boss Robert's name. So I don't know how the hell you're supposed to distinguish. I'm pretty sure this is the original one. This one's just to mess with people. So this is just some other person on MBH team. But anyway, the blue MBH guy pretty much gets taken advantage of pretty hard and loses a lot of guys. And you're going to see this back and forth skirmish where CW doesn't lose a lot of guys, but is able to bait the blue MBH into coming in and losing a lot of guys. So this is what's going to lead up into the cop out in the game. And unfortunately, this replay is so ridiculously long that I have to do the whole thing in fast forward. So it's hard to really focus on things that are happening, but you see some arrows being shot off here, tearing apart what's left of either's group, and you just see back and forth skirmishing. It's like the most uneventful game that you'll ever see. I am not I'm not upset at the way they played, as I think if you are able to play the game within the confines of the rules of the tournament and what is allowed physically within the game, I do not care exactly how you play. I don't think there's any more honor in doing this skirmish battle than there is in rushing around, doing the lone sword rush. I do not see it that way. I see it, that is what CA gave us, that is what we're going to get and use. But at the same time, that gives us a status quo. And the generic 5 to 8 lone sword army, 2 matchlocks, 2 to 3 bows, rest and cavalry, that's generic now. that gives us something to break the walls down on. So if there's any time to look for a way to beat this army, it's now, because everyone that's good seems to use it. It's like the generic army, and there's always a foil to that generic army. There always is. You just have to find the right workaround to get it. So with that said, the only downfall is I have to sit here and let you guys watch this awful top-down replay. Even though YouTube told me that I am now able to go past 15 minutes, I think it's not really worth it in this case to do an hour-long replay. I don't think anybody really wants to watch that. Feel free to let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. But this is pretty much the best tournament coverage you're going to get out of this game, because it is just so long. So you can see the power bars slightly in CW's favor, shifted just a tiny bit. You can see the units are pretty drained on in terms of skirmishing on the MBH side, as the blue MBH doesn't really have anymore, and it's pretty much all on the green one here to try to make something happen. And you'll see Robert trying to flank, and they're going to try to do some outmaneuvering to get some sort of angle, trying to make something happen. But the CW for the most part out skirmishes them pretty dramatically, and that's what's going to be the downfall here. And you're going to see some matchlocks get some shots off and everything, and that's where things get really ugly, as the micro just sort of falls apart eventually with the back and forth. I mean, it's a pretty good game in terms of, I wish I played in this game. I mean, it's pretty epic in terms of the time, the amount of micromanagement and care put into every single move on the map. It's just long, tedious, awful game in a sense. So we're going to slowly see units bite the dust here. There goes CW's Bow Warrior Monk, one of the first ones to flee. We're going to see a lot more matchlocks come up, do some shots off. It's going to go both ways. And there's also going to be this little maneuver over here, which I find pretty amusing. I think CW baits the cavalry into running into the matchlock warrior monks. So I'm not sure when that happens. It could be 2 seconds now, and it could be also 37 minutes from now. I'm not sure, as this is the slowest game in the world. But power to CW to just nailing away at it piece by piece. It's real easy to have a nice game plan, wear someone down really slowly, and then get knocked out, so to say, with just a second left. And you see the NBA trying to do some sort of flanking maneuver. They're trying to get any sort of advantage back as they, slowly lost theirs. But back to the, back to what happens here. So pretty soon, I think what happens is one of the players of CW, I think, is going to drop, and then they eventually, I'm not even sure. I'm gonna go by based on what I see in the replay. So pretty much, Boss Robert and the rest of MBH here, they're going to flee to the red line because they're going to say that there's a stalemate with CW and that there's no action. Where they're wrong is that there's absolutely not a stalemate. CW is constantly pushing up and constantly pushing MBH back, and MBH just keeps going back until they're in a corner. The reason why they went into a corner is because they thought, because they did not read the rules properly, that if they go into a corner when there's a stalemate, they will win the game by default if they stay there 5 minutes or something ridiculous. That is not the case. The only reason for anyone to go into a corner is if the infantry guy, or excuse me, is if one team only has cavalry and one team only has infantry. The infantry guy normally would have to run around or hide in the trees away from the cavalry, and it would just become a stalemate because no one would want to attack each other. What this corrects is that if the infantry guy is able to make it to the spawn of the enemy that has the cavalry, then they win. It's a way to bypass the rules and, you know, give the infantry guy a chance instead of, you know, having a stalemate where no one does anything for a long period of time and just bores the hell out of everyone. So that's pretty much what the rule's there for, and that has happened to a lot of us where you just have, you know, a couple units of infantry, the enemy has some bow cav or just some cavalry in general, no one wants to attack each other, and so they just wait it out. And they wait and wait and wait. So I like that rule. It gives the infantry guy a chance to win, and the cavalry guy always has a chance to exploit the flanks of the enemy infantry guy. So that's what the rule's for. This is a complete misunderstanding of the rules, and we're going to see that real soon because this is where CW starts to take the advantage. And you're going to slowly see a lot of blinking of the green over here. And you see the power bar slowly inching to the right, to the CW side. So CW clearly has the advantage, and that's probably why, you know, the MBH decides to start fleeing and running into the woods. As they probably know they have no chance of winning at that point. It's a big cop-out. It made this game, it made such a good game turn into an awful one, in my opinion. And I think that's a huge shame, because you're going to slowly see CW move up with these matchlocks and just shoot away, and they're just going to keep running and running and running and running. See, there goes some shots. That was a huge blast right there, taking out a lot of those lone swords. And so here we go. So they're going to now flee because they feel that there's a stalemate. I completely disagree. I see their matchlocks moving up slowly, doing some damage. There's no cavalry left for MBH to flank with as far as I know. So they're just going to move up with their matchlocks and not worry about a thing and just start shooting away. And it's pretty amusing to watch. And I think most of you will agree that, you know, these 4 matchlock units are constantly pushing and putting the pressure on, and they're just going to pick off units left and right. So you guys can decide. I already made my decision. CW definitely wins this and goes on because, you know, the stalemate's just pathetic in my opinion. But maybe they did not just read the rules. I mean, on the forum it looked like Robert was saying he still doesn't understand why. I think it's pretty clear cut why, especially after Anti's long explanation of why they lost and of why that strategy does not work. I don't know, it's pretty ridiculous stuff. So maybe right now is the corner camping. We're getting awfully close. They've moved very far across the map, and the shots are being taken and just pushing them. I don't see this as a stalemate. I see a stalemate as no one moving. There's no ranged units attacking. Nothing. This is a swift owning the map here, pushing your opponent anywhere you want them to go. And I think CW does a great job of that, pushing with their matchlock superiority. So we're getting closer and closer to the edge. You see CW still pushing and pushing with their matchlocks, with decent protection on the sides from, you know, any sort of rogue lone sword action here. This movement still blows my mind, as it looks like he's just sacrificing all his units. There's going to be some volleys being shot off here. And it's a good way to lose your matchlocks from what I see. see, constant movement, constant pushing up. I mean, CW was all the way over here at one point. Now they're pretty much here. I mean, MBH is moving around too. I don't see how they would even think it's a stalemate. It makes zero sense whatsoever. And we just see pushing still. There's constant movement. There's not a single, I won't say boring, but there's not a single moment where people aren't moving in this match. People are constantly moving, constantly pushing. And CW keeps going and going and going. And now you'll see Boss Robert and them, Dose Boss Robert or whatever, push into the corner. And they're back at the red line, thinking they're going to win for no reason whatsoever. I do not understand it. But here they go. They're about into the corner. These cavalry are about to die. They're going to at least get pushed back, excuse me. And that's that. So they're in the corner, hanging out, thinking they won. There's no cavalry on this side, and there's no infantry on that side for this to even work. It just does not work that way. And so this is where it pretty much ends. I think someone drops or something ridiculous. But for the most part, CW wins. Look at this bar. It's definitely in CW's favor. And MBH is trying to exploit rules here. So it's pretty much done. There's no point in them replaying a new game or anything. It pays to read. It pays to read well. Please read. If you haven't learned how to read and you're in a tournament, have someone read to you, etc. Because I don't want to have to cover another game like this ever again. Because it's boring and stupid. And now it just looks like MBH is redline camping, which is never illegal in any tournament. So pretty much that's what it translates to. MBH, redline campers, and they lose. That's a double whammy in my opinion. And so there's huge rush, and that's it. Game ends. I think one of the CW people dropped, so that's why they rushed it then. I'm not sure. But that's the game. CW wins 2-0.